you action figure enthusiasts out there, JC here with another T&I toy review. And today's review is in association with JediInsider.com, your #1 news source for everything Star Wars. And for today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the brand new Star Wars Black Series 6-inch Imperial Jumptrooper figure from Hasbro. Now this figure here in the United States is being sold as a GameStop exclusive, and it is available now. The figure comes packaged in the same style we see with all the Black Series figures. You've got the Black Series logo up at the top, the figure clearly displayed in the window box type packaging, and then down below you've got the name of the character and an image. On the side you've got the red border, but because it is a store exclusive, there's no numbering on it. And then on the back of the packaging you've got a bio in multiple languages. All right, let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside of the packaging along with the other content. Now, first thing you get here is a figure stand, and this is a pretty generic looking stand. It's just done with a clear plastic, and you do have the Star Wars Black Series logo on it. But I've got to be honest, this is kind of a cheap thing. I don't know if this is something they plan on including with all Black Series figures going forward. I think a couple of different figures have it, but certainly not all of them at this point. But as figure stands go, I like the size of it. And it's done as a triangle, which I have no problem with that. But I don't really like that they did this clip as opposed to a normal foot peg. I think the foot peg system would work better. And one of the reasons why I don't like this little clip thing, basically what you do is you just slide the foot into that, is that you essentially have to have one foot on the stand and one foot off the stand. And therefore your figure, if you're just having it stand straight like this, if you want to put it on your shelf, he's kind of standing a little bit crooked because one foot is lower than the other. So I don't really like that. I think the peg would be more secure as well, especially if they did it back here so that you could put both feet on the stand. As it is, you know, it'll stay in there okay, but you start moving it around and your figure is going to fall over. And then just because this guy is a jetpack trooper and, you know, flies around, a flight stand for this particular figure would actually be better than a regular foot stand. But as it is, you know, I mean, it does an okay job. And like I said, I do like the fact that it doesn't take up a lot of room. So if you want to put these, if you ended up putting a lot of these on your shelf, you know, it's not going to, I hate when the figure stand takes up so much space on your shelf, but that's not really the case. But I do think it would be better if they just did a peg and did it back here so that you could have both feet on the stand when you put it on there. And then the other accessory you get with this figure is just a regular looking Imperial blaster rifle. I do like the paint applications. You've got some silver wash on it, so it does look like it's metal, but otherwise it looks pretty much like all the other Imperial blasters that we've gotten in the line. And I've got to say, being as, you know, this figure is based on a character that you can use in the Battlefront 2 video game, where he does use multiple weapons like a bazooka and stuff. It would have been kind of cool if maybe they'd given us a few additional weapons besides just the blaster. Now the figure does have a working gun holster like we generally see with the Stormtrooper figures that Hasbro does. That's not actually in keeping with the game. In the game you don't see a gun holster like this, but this belt is pretty much the same belt they've used on previous Stormtrooper figures. So, and frankly, I'm glad they included it, even though it's not technically, I guess, game accurate, but because they included the rifle, I'm glad they went on and included the holster as well. Now for the figure itself, as I mentioned before, this is based on one of the Imperial Stormtroopers that you can use in the Battlefront 2 video game, the Jetpack Trooper, and I think this looks pretty true to how he appears in the game. For the most part, you're just seeing a reuse of the Imperial Stormtrooper body. The legs and, you know, the torso and even the arms are all basically a reuse of the Imperial Stormtrooper body, and that's true to how it appears in the video game. You've got a little bit different shoulder pads on the Jumptrooper than you do the regular Stormtrooper. They come down a little bit farther on the figure. One is yellow, the left side is yellow. That's in keeping with the game, and you've got the Imperial symbol, and those are painted on both sides on the shoulder pads, so that all looks good. The helmet is different from a regular Stormtrooper. It looks a little more aerodynamic. You've got this little extra fin piece that comes up on the helmet. You've got the yellow striping up there on the top, and then you've got the gray markings there on the side of the helmet as well. And again, that's in keeping with the video game. The eyes, and you've got the hoses that come up here, but the rest of the helmet looks pretty true, pretty much like a regular Stormtrooper. You even have those kind of blue vent markings on the side of the helmet. And so, you know, the backpack is pretty true to how it appears in the game. You got the little jet thrusters here, which are done with black, and you got some black markings and some nice sculpting detail. The backpack is removable. You can take it off. It just plugs in with a hole there with a little peg. But the hoses themselves are basically firmly attached to the helmet. They do not appear to be removable, and so I tried pulling a little bit, but I'm not going to pull too much. They look to be glued in there. Same, the hoses that attach, so I guess technically you can take the hoses off and you can remove the backpack itself, but then you're still just going to have these hoses just kind of sitting there. So I don't really see much point in doing that. But the hoses themselves do just plug in with like little pegs. The hoses are made with a rubber material, and you do have some sculpting detail with the ridges, so it does look like actual air hoses, which is nice. The hoses do also limit some of the movement there at the head. You can still turn to the left and right, and I'll go over all the articulation in a moment, but there is a little bit of limit with head movement because of those. And if for some reason you just wanted to put a regular Stormtrooper head on your Jumptrooper body, you know, maybe if you like the shoulder pads or something, you can do it. The heads are interchangeable. So, you know, and again, you can take the actual backpack off. You just can't remove the hoses from the helmet. Another minor difference from a regular Stormtrooper figure is they've painted this little indent here down by the ankle, a dark gray color. On the regular Stormtrooper figures, that's just left white. Now this figure stands, if you count to the top of his helmet, not quite 6 1/4 inches tall, but definitely over 6 inches. And here's a comparison with the regular Stormtrooper figure, and you can see because of the different helmet, it is a little bit taller. And just for one more comparison, here's a look at the Shock Trooper, which was another Battlefront game that was also released as a GameStop exclusive. Now for articulation, the actual points of articulation are in keeping with that of the regular Stormtrooper figure, but again, because of these hoses that attach to the helmet and such, that limits some of the head movement a little bit more. So as long as you know, again, you can unplug the hoses on the back of the backpack, but if you leave it plugged in, that's about as far as he can turn his head, and same to this side. And unfortunately, he can look down about that much, but he really can't look up very much, which is, I mean, understandable because of the helmet, and I just popped it off there, but is a little disappointing, you know, when you're trying to get him into flight poses. That's about as far back as you can get the head. And then with the arms, you can get the arm out about that much. He does have the shoulder pad, so you do want to be wary of that, but you can get the arm out about that much. And then you can rotate the arm all the way around there at the shoulder, no problem. Has a bicep swivel, has a double hinged elbow, so you can bend his elbow pretty good. And then you have rotation with the hands, you have hinges, so you've got the up and down movement. You've got the midsection joint, so you can rotate there, and you can pivot to the left and the right. Really doesn't have much in the way of crunch forward movement, and can look back about that much there at the midsection. Does not have a waist swivel. Now with the legs, can only do the splits about that much. Get the leg forward about that much, and then can only do the leg back about that much. Again, if you have a regular Stormtrooper figure, you know what to expect here. You've got a thigh swivel, you've got the double jointed knee, so good bending there at the knee, and then with the feet you have the hinges, so you've got up and down movement, and you do have ankle pivot with these, and 2 peg holes on the bottom of the feet. Okay, so that's my review. So overall, I like the figure. It does look like the Jumptrooper from the video game, so I think they did a good job with that. It would have been nice if maybe they could have found some way to make the head a little more articulated so you could get it in better flight poses. I would have also liked to have seen an actual flight stand and maybe a few additional weapons to go along with him. But still, for the most part, I think they did a good job in keeping the likeness from the video game. And if you just like to army build variant Stormtroopers, I think this is one you want to check out. Now, again, this is a GameStop exclusive here in the United States, and it is available now. It costs about $23. We'll have a full image gallery up at JediInsider.com. There'll be a link in the video description below. As always, leave a comment, let me know what you think. If you're so inclined, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. And of course, you can also follow me on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. I have links to those in the video description as well. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you later.